In the Ballad of a Small Player, a struggling man must lay low in Mackay as his past life and debts catch up with him, but stumbling across someone may be the key to his answers to his problems. And welcome Cinema, where we focus on a film. I'm Joss, this is Simply Cinema. Let me know down in the comments below what you thought of The Ballad of the Smallest Player, now streaming on Netflix. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Or is it somewhere right in the middle? And taking it into a positive, falling about with Colin Farrell as the lead character playing Dolly. What we're getting out of him is a fantastic performance, one of his great ones that really expresses a lot of the emotions that this story is asking for. The anxiety really heightens up alongside the music that is melancholic and really builds upon the soundtrack that really works, something that is immersive to the environment, something that drives the story forward, making it feel quicker than it really is. And building upon that, we're getting Edward Berger as the director, who has done Conclave just last year, and the cinematography and what we get out of the direction has no shortage of being great and fantastic looking, from wide shots to great uses of lighting and big and contained rooms. There's something that creates a sense of variety throughout the runtime that really builds upon the chaotic energy that is most frequently seen within the casino scenes, everything we're doing about both within the first act and then leading on to the third act. That's where things really build upon the tension. There's certain things with a romance story that's tied within that could enlighten people depending on how well you are well versed into it. But the way we're falling about with Colin Farrell especially, and then also Tilden Swinton and Fala Chen, they have great performances that work for the performances and ideas. The character work is pretty well done for what you're writing out, and of course what we're getting out of the card games. While I'm not too versed within the rules of how these things work, you're still getting a generality that you know there are stakes at hand, that you know this guy is facing all these steps, and it's dealing with a sense of suicide, respectively, with some people that are into the game, that are too much into the struggles that they're dealing with. So there is a sense of importance within that. Even if it doesn't go deeply into that, it's not specifically about depression on its own two hands, but there is still a reliability to what you're gathering from all the information because of the music and the direction that is being pulled forward. Which takes me into the mix elements. If you are not too well versed into the gambling game, such as myself, then this may be a little confusing at certain points. You may just be able to catch on along the way, but all of the game rules may not be as important as to whether you are enjoying what this narrative has to be told, because this is a little bit chaotic in some certain scenes, which is good in some sense, but some people may lose themselves with what is actually going on, which leads into a second act, which is more balanced in with this romance chemistry that I felt was a little mixed with where you're tracking along with the story, the ability to build upon the tension and what we're doing as a whole. And some people have mentioned that the soundtrack can be generic in sometimes or a little overused. I can kind of see that, though I was still immersed by my own viewing experience and tracking along with these characters. There's not a whole lot to get out of them except for the anxiety, something with the depression that I feel they could have leaned into a little bit more. And I also feel this film would have been better if it had a better handle on the pacing to this film, which it was quick in some parts, but leading into the second act, it was a bit more slow. And if they were to go into something that it was to take itself seriously throughout, or to choose to not take things so seriously, I feel there would be a better grasp at what it's trying to communicate. Because otherwise, while most of the scenes can be chaotic and not be taken too seriously, it also blends into some parts of the film that takes itself seriously, which throws you off balance at some certain point, throwing the message in a chaotic mess that you don't necessarily get to grasp what all is being told if you're just passively viewing it and just being able to gather the information and action as it comes along. Then you may have a little bit more enjoyment than I had, but there is still something that there is a fair sense of criticism to be shared when looking at all those finer details. Which takes me into the negatives. I feel this story felt like it was a little overstuffed and underwhelming within the way that it was trying to balance all these different things, stories about the debt, stories about the suicide and possible risk of depression from the addiction Colin Farrell and others are getting from it. And when it references suicide in things that are happening outside of his life, it's not dissecting it too personally. We're not learning about those characters, and we're also getting different players in the game that he owes money to, and you're not getting all the finer details, to which Tilda Swinton, being one of them, is kind of underused within where we're taking on the story. And there's a bit of the romance part of the story that it feels like it takes a turn from where we're looking at the story as a whole, that I honestly didn't feel there was much chemistry between what we're getting out of Colin Farrell, Ballad. I don't feel that was their performances, because Colin Farrell especially emitted a lot of emotion. It was more so the writing that just didn't feel tight enough, and it felt like a distraction from the chaotic and colorfulness of the casino within the first and third act, that takes kind of a sharp turn to the quiet and bleakness to going out to sea, going to this wooden cabin type of house on the sea, that really shifts the narrative in a different sort of thing that you're not ultimately expecting to come, because when you're trying to still learn all the rules, learn all the details of the debts he's placed in, it takes a sudden backseat to the tension, to the drive of the story, that ultimately pays a big sacrifice to our focus of what all is going on, how things that he has debts that should be owed by a certain day, but it removes you from the situation that this character needs to be doing this, and otherwise it undermines what ultimately becomes of it, because he's able to go back and be able to recover from those with no problems at all, which really undercuts the tension that those particular moments were building in the beginning of the film. And trying to go back into the casino scenes into the third act, it's just hard to gain the momentum again, because it dragged you down through a pit that otherwise didn't really elevate to what the direction quality, what the music quality had to offer for the film as a whole. So that's just my personal thoughts on The Ballad of a Small Player, which you have to rate a simply 5.5 out of 10. Let me know down in the comments below what you thought of The Ballad of a Small Player. Was it good? Was it bad? Or somewhere right in the middle? Was I missing anything from it? Make sure to like this video if you enjoy it, and subscribe if you haven't already to join in film culture community, where we talk about the love of cinema as a whole. So that's just all, and make sure to do yourself a favor and go watch a movie.